The fire popped, sending a spray of orange embers into the night air. My parents sat inches from the heat, their laughter ringing out, rhythmic and hollow against the vast silence of the property. They did not see it. They were looking at each other, eyes bright with the comfort of the flames. I saw it. Just beyond the tree line, where the manicured grass met the wall of dense oak, a pale flicker pulsed in the dark. It was the same rhythm as a heartbeat, steady and deliberate. I dropped my fork. It clattered against the plate, but the sound was swallowed by the wind. I pushed my chair back, the legs scraping hard against the stone patio. My mother turned, a question forming on her lips, but I was already moving. I did not look back. I stepped away from the circle of light and walked toward the edge of the woods. The air grew thinner with every step, shedding the warmth of the hearth. The lantern drifted, swaying in the stagnant air, waiting for me to cross the threshold into the black. I reached the first row of trees, the branches clawing at the sky, and stopped. My breath hitched. The light was no longer a flicker. It was a beckoning. 10 years ago, the first time I followed that light, I was 10. I was convinced it was a lost camper, some poor soul fumbling with a failing flashlight in the dark. I called out, my voice thin and reedy against the towering trunks. No answer. I pushed through a curtain of low-hanging vines, the leaves wet and cold against my skin. I kept my eyes on the glow, chasing the steady pulse deeper into the thicket. I did not notice when the world changed. The wind, which had been rustling the canopy above, simply ceased. The crickets, a constant chorus of the summer night, went dead in an instant. The silence was heavy, like a physical weight pressing against my eardrums. I stopped, my boots sinking into a patch of rot-softened moss. I looked back, expecting to see the path I had taken, but the trail had vanished. The trees seemed to have shifted, closing ranks behind me, knitting their branches into a solid, impenetrable wall. The glow was further away now, deeper in the woods, waiting for me to take another step into the absolute quiet. I heard the crunch of dry leaves behind me. It was not the wind. It was the rhythmic, deliberate weight of a footfall. I spun around, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird, but the path was empty. When I turned back to the light, it was 10 feet closer. A figure stood there, a tall, ink-black silhouette that seemed to draw the surrounding dark into itself. They held the lantern high, the glass frame vibrating with a low, hummed intensity. I took a step back, my heel catching on a root, but the ground beneath me felt wrong. It was hard, jagged, and unyielding. I looked down, then behind me, searching for the way I had entered. The trail was gone. In its place, a wall of thick, impenetrable thorns had risen, twisting upward into the canopy. The needles were long, sharp, and slick with a dark, viscous sap. I reached out to break a branch, but the thorns shifted, rattling like dry bone. I was not being led. I was being held. The figure did not move, but the lantern swung, casting a long, distorted shadow that reached toward my feet. I turned back to the thorns, tearing at the brush with my bare hands, desperate to find an opening, but the thicket only grew tighter. The trap was set. I blinked, and the memory shattered. I was back in the yard. The firelight from the patio was still warm on my face, but it felt miles away. The lantern drifted in the stagnant air, swaying just beyond the oaks. My mother called my name from the porch, her voice a distant, muffled echo that failed to reach me. I tried to turn toward the house, but my muscles refused to obey. Then, the silhouette stepped out from the deep shadows of the trees. The lantern rose, the flame inside burning a sick, pale white. The light caught the handle and then the hand holding it. It was long, gray, and skeletal, the skin pulled tight over bone like wet parchment. My breath caught in my throat. I looked back toward the porch, desperate to run, but the ground behind me was changing. The grass and the garden path dissolved into a thick, swirling gray mist. The yard was gone. There was only the forest, the lantern, and the hand. My body leaned forward against my own will. Each step was heavy, a mechanical motion I could not stop. I wanted to scream, but the air in my lungs turned cold and still. I was walking into the dark, and I had no power to stop my feet. The distance between us collapsed. Every step I took felt like walking into deep water, the air growing denser, colder, harder to push through. The figure did not move, yet the lantern hovered closer, hovering at eye level. I reached out. My fingers trembled, hitting the cold, rusted metal of the lantern cage. The skeletal hand moved, its fingers curling around my wrist with a grip like iron. The light surged, blinding and absolute, scouring the remaining color from the world. I opened my mouth to scream. The sound tore from my throat, raw and desperate, but it never reached the air. The forest floor seemed to tilt, the trees rushing upward to meet the sky. The sound of my own voice died instantly, choked off by a sudden, suffocating pressure as if the darkness itself had filled my lungs. The lantern flickered once, then extinguished. The mist pulled tight, weaving through the branches until every trace of the path, the firelight, and the house were gone. There was no ground beneath me, there was no wind. There was only the weight of the dark, pressing in from every side. I stopped fighting. I stopped thinking. The woods closed around me, silent and absolute, and I walked forward until there was nothing left to hold.